Hello everyone, it's Simon here with a review of The Walking Vegetables Radical Edition. It was just called The Walking Vegetables when I got it on PC several years ago, but it got upgraded to the Radical Edition and re-released for PS4, which is what you see on your screen, Nintendo Switch and Xbox One, and I double dipped and rebought it on PlayStation 4 because it was super cheap. Now, this is a single-player twin-stick shooter. I love me a twin-stick shooter, particularly when they're on the arcade style of the spectrum, and this does that in spades. You're basically trapped in a vegan nightmare. Vegetables have come to life, they're coming to kill you, and you have to shoot them until they die. Each level is highly customized and randomized, because the game takes itself from a roguelike and roguelite approach. So every playthrough will be different because you've got randomized buildings, areas, arenas, levels, enemy layout, boss layout, weapon layout, and store layout as well. So absolutely everything will be slightly different every time you play. The one thing that is very the same, though, each time you play is the controls, which are spot on. Your character moves around really fluidly and quickly, which means that you can escape and kind of have a horde of vegetables running around the screen after you with ease. Your shooting, though, is different depending on the type of weapon that you've got. It never quite feels like you're firing it on complete 360-degree fluidity, though. It feels like you're on a 32-point star, which can mean that it feels like you're lining up a shot occasionally rather than just like throwing a stick in that direction. And that's particularly true when you've got, say, like shotgun rifles which only fire out one bullet as opposed to like a stream of bullets from your Uzis and stuff like that. Ammo in this game is kind of scarce. It depends. There's different types of ammo for different types of gun, and different enemies will not necessarily spew out the ammo that you want or need at that specific time. Thankfully, you do have shops and later on fast travel to get back to those shops so that you can refill your ammo as you need to from the coins that you've collected as you kill things as you go. Initially, though, unlocking all of these different weapons and having things in the shop as you start off in the game is a bit of a grind because things are priced really, really highly, and you'll be able to unlock perks which you'll get each time you then replay stuff in these shops as you go along, such as fast travel, such as more hearts for yourself, the standard stuff that you'll get in a shop for a roguelike. It will mean that you'll die quite soon and quite often in lots of your first playthroughs, but that's where this roguelike element comes in. You'll eventually be to the point where you are beefed up enough so that you can mow down the early levels quite quickly, but the later levels will still be a real challenge for you. The other thing you really need to get used to with The Walking Vegetables Radical Edition is the fact that as you're moving and shooting, you'll also need to be using your baseball bat, which will knock back projectiles that are throwing at you. Early on in your first playthroughs, nothing really shoots at you, and it's just about keeping away from enemies and shooting at them. Almost like a swarm horde coming around, chasing you around the map. As things get more aggressive and more angry, you'll get many more projectiles thrown at you, and it's quite often just as easy to bat them away, particularly in boss encounters, than it is to actually try and avoid it because there's so much coming at you. Not quite bullet hell standard, but challenging enough. So yeah, you'll need to basically be moving, shooting with your two thumbs on the analog sticks, but also smacking the baseball bat with your triggers as well, just to make sure that you've got everything covered. That can be quite a challenge, so you'll need some time to get used to that, but you'll be having plenty of time. It is a bit grindy initially, but as you start to find things more and more open up, I found that my enjoyment with The Walking Vegetables actually grew over time. And quite often when you've got like one premise and you're rogueliking it over and over again, that's not always the case. But with The Walking Vegetables, I found that the longer I played it, the more I enjoyed it. Would have quite liked some co-op stuff thrown in there for good measure, but I can see why it's only a single player game because there's so much on screen, and generally the characters are quite chunky and big, so yeah, it would probably have been a bit too messy on screen. Talking of messy, sometimes the graphics are too colourful and it makes it quite difficult to see where you should be and where you shouldn't be, and what is a projectile and what isn't. So once or twice I felt like I had a bit of a cheap death, or at least a cheap hit, where I didn't even see something coming and then was like, oh, I'm dead anyway. Whoops. So yeah, that is The Walking Vegetables Radical Edition. For twin stick shooters, I would definitely recommend it. It's up there with some of the top tier ones that I've been playing recently, particularly from Housemarque. Love their games. This is a much more colourful, cutesy, cheaper alternative, but you also get to slay veggies. What's not to love? Thanks for watching. Any questions, leave them in the comments. Bye for now.
This channel is just one of my many projects that cover games, music and film. If you enjoy any of these and would consider supporting me to develop further in the future, you can do so by visiting patreon.com/Satorimon. Thank you for your time and for watching the video.